Hello, this is a B1 level ESL lesson. Today we're going to be doing a writing lesson on how to write a discussion essay about an environmental problem. We'll also be looking at using sequencing words to organize your essay. So air pollution. Do you think about the air that you breathe? So Tom says, I moved away from my hometown about 5 years ago because I was worried about the air quality. Air pollution causes a lot of health problems. Yalda says, I live near a lot of factories. Some days, especially on days without wind, the air can sting my eyes. I sometimes worry about the air that I breathe. And Caroline says, I live in the country, far from a big city. I don't have to worry about air pollution. So in a discussion essay, you present your point of view and provide examples to support your point of view. So read the statements. What is the person's point of view, and what examples could they give to support their point of view? And you can answer those questions in the comments. Maureen says, climate change may be real, but no one seems to really understand anything about it. And Jamila says, single-use plastic is one of the more serious environmental issues in our society today. Now look at the statement by the author of a discussion essay and what examples would support this problem statement. Air pollution is one of the most serious environmental issues facing our world today, and most of it is caused by human activity. If you have some ideas or some examples, again, you can feel free to put those in the comments. Now we're going to read the first supporting idea and answer the questions. You can pause the video and read this on your own, or you can follow along as I read. First, we have 3 vocabulary words. Emission means an amount of gas, heat, or light that something produces. Strict means strongly limiting, and power plant is a power station. So air pollution is one of the most serious environmental problems facing our world today, and most of it is caused by human activity. First, industrial plants, factories, and power plants release a lot of harmful chemicals into the air, including carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, and organic compounds. In many developed countries, governments have already introduced strict laws to control these emissions. However, in most developing nations, the problem of industrial air pollution continues to grow. Countries which are not able to deal with this problem effectively should receive international support in order to reduce this type of pollution. So how is this problem different in different countries? Well, in some countries, they've already enacted strict laws to control pollution. But in other countries, they don't have the resources to do that. And the solution that the author offers is to have countries that don't have the resources that they should receive international support. Now we'll read the second key point that supports the author's point of view statement. Again, the vocabulary words, greenhouse gas, a gas like carbon dioxide, which is causing global warming, and carpool is people traveling together, especially to work, sometimes in a different member's car each day. So secondly, car exhaust fumes increase the levels of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. In an effort to reduce this kind of pollution, many governments encourage people to carpool or use public transportation. Electric cars offer an ideal solution to this problem since they produce no exhaust emissions. In some countries, government initiatives which help to reduce the cost of electric cars have been extremely successful. So a solution to the issue already exists. What is it? It's electric cars. Now, to guide the reader through our writing, we use words that act like signs. First, second, third, and finally are used to introduce a new idea. However, and on the other hand, are used to introduce contrasting information. And you should use words like for example, such as, and like to provide examples that support your ideas. Now we'll read the author's third point about air pollution. Again, some vocabulary. Take precaution is actions that you do in advance. This is a picture of a fire break and a picture of a volcanic eruption. Finally, a small percentage of the pollution in our air comes from natural sources, which include forest fires or volcanic eruptions. While some of these situations are beyond human control, we can still take precautions to reduce the risk of wildfires, such as being careful with campfires and cigarettes. Fire breaks can also be created to prevent fires from spreading. And are fires or volcanic eruptions a big risk in your country? Now, the conclusion is the final part of the essay. The vocabulary, concentrated effort is people need to work together for a length of time. Tackle is to fight or resist, and progressive is forward thinking. In conclusion, tackling air pollution on a global scale is likely to require a concerted effort. Governments around the world will need to work together to support developing countries and follow the lead of more progressive nations before we see a significant reduction in air pollution. The conclusion often restates the author's strongest point. And where did the author already mention this idea? Well, it was in the very beginning in the problem statement. So here's a way that you can organize an essay. You start with your point of view, state the what you introduce your point of view, state the first point of view, give an example or proof, solution, second point of view, example or proof and solution, and third point of view, example or proof, possible solution, and then a conclusion. So a structure is very useful to help you write well in English, and this is a simple structure to remember. All right, so here's another discussion essay about air pollution. So complete the paragraph with the correct text. You can pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check the answer. All right, so letter C is the correct choice that would go into this answer. To begin with, industrial plants, factories, and power plants release a lot of harmful chemicals into the air. It's hard to put an exact figure on it, but in the US, studies suggest that industrial pollution accounts for 50% of air pollution. Australia, Canada, and many European countries have some of the cleanest air in the world. Developing nations such as India and China have some of the worst air pollution problems. They are in desperate need of support from the international community to help tackle this problem. All right, for this one, you'll choose two options to complete the text. So go ahead and pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, so on top of this, car exhaust fumes increase the levels of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. Carpooling and use of public transportation will definitely help to reduce this kind of pollution. And then you would put in choice A. In addition, electric cars offer an ideal solution since they produce no exhaust emissions whatsoever. In Norway, for instance, government incentives Government incentive initiatives have proved to be extremely successful. And then you would insert sentence C. In conclusion, everyone should buy an electric car, and we should ban cars that run on traditional fossil fuel energy. And the final point in conclusion, again, you can pause the video and select the sentences that go in each blank, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, furthermore, and that then you would insert choice D. Some air pollution comes from natural sources, which includes forest fires and volcanic eruptions. Some of these situations are beyond human control, but in fact, the vast majority of wildfires, about 80 or 90%, are a direct result of human activity. More public education is clearly needed, especially in high-risk areas. And to sum up, and then selection B, governments around the world will need to work together in order to tackle air pollution on a global scale by providing supports to developing countries and following the examples of more progressive nations. All right, so in this lesson, you've now seen many words and expressions that help guide the reader through a discussion essay. First, to begin with, second, third, and finally are used to introduce a new idea. On top of this, in addition and furthermore, introduce extra information that can introduce new ideas or support existing ideas. And in conclusion, and to sum up, are a way of starting the conclusion. All right, so now choose one of these in topics or one of your own and write some notes about a topic. We've got online deliveries and packaging, cutting down trees, forests to plant crops, and food wastage in the home, or you can come up with a topic of your own. So again, you're going to use this structure and the transition words that we've already talked about. And then after you've written your discussion essay, you can use this checklist to evaluate your writing. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave comments to start a discussion, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.